but passion can be developed. I mean, I think for those who have the entrepreneurial bug, it's not necessarily about the industry of entrepreneurship in itself is the passion.
Welcome back to One Step Beyond Cyber. Now, today's episode is a little different. It's a bonus conversation as we wrap up season 3 and say goodbye before we roll into our new chapter. Now, I'm joined by a special guest, Anebi Agbo, who's the Chief Joy Officer at Shipman Cleaning Company. Now, he's originally from Nigeria, and Anebi came to the United States in 2013 and has been building companies, shaping data-driven products, and leading high-performance teams across startups and Fortune 500s ever since. Now, in this conversation, we'll be tackling a big question. Is starting your own business dead? So let's go ahead and dive in. Well, welcome. Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about an interesting point of view. Is starting your own business dead, or is it alive in new forms? But before we dive into that crazy question, why don't we share a little bit about yourself? Introduce yourself. What are you building today? Just let our audience know what's going on with you.
Absolutely. So I appreciate the opportunity to be on the podcast in the first
Absolutely.
place. But yeah, I bought a cleaning company a little over a year ago, commercial residential cleaning company. The impetus was to get into the Main Street business space, right? Traditional businesses. I've been looking at that space for a couple of years, and an opportunity presented itself to make an acquisition last year. And beyond that, I've spent the last decade or so in tech, working for companies like American Express, Zelle, consulting for Microsoft and whatnot. And lately, I've been stepping into the government innovation, customer experience space. So a lot of opportunity there to help innovate and help government work better from the technology perspective. Private sector, right, has been doing that for a long time. I think a lot of governments in the US and probably around the world are beginning to look at ways to optimize for digital transformation and building with the customer at the center of the experiences. So that's kind of where I'm playing right now, and I'm excited for all of it.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure our government or any government could use that entrepreneurial vision, experience that you've got. So thank you for doing that, boy.
Of course.
Technology will definitely help. So like you said, so you in my intro, I had mentioned you've been in the States now for a little over 12 years. You just mentioned buying a company is one of the many things that you're doing, but what pushed you toward this whole entrepreneurship endeavor? What made you fork off into that side of the?
Yeah, quite frankly, I think it started with how I grew up, right? Parents were entrepreneurial. Parents both were. My dad passed away when I was 11 months old, but I have a lot of that entrepreneurial blood in there because my dad was a civil engineer and also ran his own carpentry business for years. And my mom was and is a professor of fashion design and textile merchandise, but also, had her own businesses over the years. My mom has done anything from, selling solar lamps in Nigeria. So I'm Nigerian. I'm a Nigerian immigrant to the US. And, back there, right, electricity, for infrastructure is not very stable. So solar is the way to go, and generators. But so my mom has done that. She's had a fashion shop, tailoring workshop, bridal shop, like all kinds of things. So entrepreneurship for me wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. So when I moved stateside, obviously I was tech inclined. I've always been into technology, thanks to my older brother, who passed away some years ago, but he got me into it, right? And so I had that in there. So when I moved stateside, it was a natural progression to start working in tech. I worked for a variety of companies, but I always had my eye on the entrepreneurial thing. And I did some consulting. I built courses. I work with small businesses, just trying to figure out what are the needs out there in the marketplace and how might I position myself to solve those problems. And about 7 years ago, jumped in with it. But yeah.
Yeah, no, this is really interesting, and it's similar for me because my background is that my father was an entrepreneur, sold life insurance. So you're having to build your own book of business. You're having so I saw what he did. I saw how hard he worked. I saw that the creativity involved, like you're saying, right? And I'm wondering if that's sort of a catalyst for most. And if they're hearing us talk, then and they're seeing that in their family and friends, they could get bit by the bug, so to speak.
Yeah, once you get bit, it's hard. It's hard to to
It
do
Yeah,
anything else.
it really is. I think, and there's the component of wanting to do your own thing, but then there's the component of what it takes, right, to pull that off, which we'll get into some more here. But I don't think either one of us. I know I didn't, but I don't know if you actually set out to own the type of business that you now own. I know I didn't do that. I didn't know exactly what type of business I was going to do. I did know, as you, I did know I was really into tech. I really enjoy technology and helping people use technology and all of that. But what do you think about building business, out of perfect passion, or building for love, or building because it works? Like, do you have any ideas on that?
I my personal viewpoint on the building out of passion, while that is helpful, I think that is good because I once heard someone, I think Kevin Youngblood, mention having a strong internal motor, 'cause that's going to keep you going even when the going gets tough, which that's inevitable. So passion, I think, is helpful, but passion can be developed. I mean, I 2 years ago, right? If you asked me, hey, what kind of business are you going to buy? I probably would not have told you janitorial or cleaning, but I
Right.
bought that, and I would say I'm adequately passionate about it to
Mhm.
keep going. So passion is useful, and if it's in line with your aptitude and key goals and whatnot, I think that can keep you going for a while. However, I think if you get more passionate and in love with the process, with the problems you're looking to solve, then it really doesn't matter what kind of business, right? So long as you can solve those problems and do the entrepreneurial thing. I think for those who have the entrepreneurial bug, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, it's not necessarily about the industrial space per se, and maybe that's part of it, but like entrepreneurship in itself is the passion. It's what you're passionate about. You want to solve problems, you want to build things, you want to build a lasting legacy. So for me, that's what I optimize for. That's the passion I have. And so
Right.
happens that right now I own a cleaning company, but I'm going to buy, acquire, grow, scale multiple other companies in other spaces. And maybe there might be a thread that connects them all. Like I see on the consulting company I started almost 7 years ago, Icon Labs. I might deep six it at some point and do something else, or maybe I might have it for 30 years. I don't know, but the goal is the opportunity to build things that are way bigger than myself and to pull people in to partner with and to solve interesting problems. So that's the passion. The vehicle to achieve that might change, might evolve. Heck, the technologies I may not even know about yet that are coming in 10 years. And that might be the thing. But for me, that's when I think about the passion conversation, that's what comes to mind. How about for you?
I think I would echo very, very similar to you. For me, one thing I've learned is that business as a whole is the same across many industries, right? And so, I mean, that's why you can have a business degree and go start a filming production company, or go be a doctor, or go be whatever. They're all businesses,
Yeah,
and they all have to sell a product or a service. They all have to deliver a good product or service. They all have to account for what they're delivering. They all need resources, so they all need to have an operations component. We all need a marketing component, right? We all
heck
need
yeah.
human talent component. And so for me, that's what I like. And then, so when you said like you're passionate about the entrepreneurship component, that's exactly what it is for me, and it's a plus.
Yeah.
Like you always hear actors when they're getting their award, do what you love. Well, of course they love what they do. They get to pretend all day long and get paid very well for it. And it's a very tough talent. It's not, I can't do it. So I admire them.
Yes.
But a lot of times it's not about that from my experience. It's not about waking up every day and just like, you know, that it's the creativity, the entrepreneurship, it's the
Yeah.
challenges of, as I call it, if you have a business that's working, it's kind of like you have a bus going down the road, and now you have to change the tire while the bus is already going down the road. That's a lot tougher
Heck
than
yeah.
changing. Yeah, and
Absolutely.
so it's just that joy, and I love working with my team and growing, expanding. Those things are what's fun for me. And of
Yeah.
course,
You know,
yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
when you say that, something that comes to mind, it's a viral clip, and you just made me think about this. Where she says, what does she say again? She says, "Don't love your job, job your love." And she got hammered, slaughtered online for this, right? A lot of people jumped in that, and there's all kinds of memes around that. And on the surface, right, it sounds cool and all, and people are like, "What the heck does that mean?" And I think she's onto something, right, about the don't love your job, job your love. But one thing that comes to mind too is it's kind of full circle, right? She talks about, hey, don't love your job, essentially do something you love, job you love. It's your aptitude, you love doing that. You won't work a day in your life. And the challenge there is like that's not practical for a lot of people. But if you're jobbing you love, like making a job out of things you already love, then well, you end up loving your job. So that's the joke.
Absolutely.
Thereby, I think passion can be developed, right? If you focus on the key components in getting adept and being in love with solving problems, then it really doesn't matter. Now you can always optimize to make more, to grow, to be challenged, and all of that fun stuff. But I just thought about that. I've been seeing it
I
online.
Yeah, I couldn't agree anymore. And I think there's something positive that people are doing, and sometimes life just gets in the way, and then you forget.
Yes.
You liked it when you first started doing it, so there had to be something there. And growth is part of life. And so sometimes, and it's not even for everybody, because I have some employees that have been with me for 30 years, and
Wow.
they
Amazing.
they don't they're not, yeah, thank you, they're perfectly, like, they like what they do.
Yeah.
They actually like what they do, and we like what they do, and so it's great synergy. But then you also can get sometimes this very entrepreneurial, aggressive, like, I don't want to do anything too long. I've heard, I don't remember if it was which generation it was, but it was like, never stay at a job longer than 2 years. Like, that's
Ah,
a thing, right? Keep job hopping every 2 years. And
yeah.
I don't personally subscribe to that, but I get it. It's a strategy, but how can you ever really fall in love with what you're doing if you just keep, moving from company? Because every company has a core set of values, right? And that
Yeah.
permeates. So you might just leave and then go to a company you don't love, and you left a really good gig. So
Yeah. And I mean, you make a really excellent point there. Depending on the industry, I've heard the job hopping thing, and as a strategy to raise income. And one of the things I found in tech, I think that's common, fairly common, because your income can grow considerably versus the 5%. And quite frankly, I have done that in the past. And sometimes it's just inevitable depending on the kind of job. Like for me, right, when I got the gig with Arizona, and stay there a long time, get things done, but we're able to get the office operational in 2 years and hire the key people and take on some projects. And now I'm going to do the same thing for Colorado with the new role. So it's interesting how that played out. But there was a sense of like, yes, the baton can be handed over. It's a new person. There's a team in place. It's a replacement. So there is that component. But a few
there's
years
a
ago,
yeah.
oh, sorry.
Sorry.
you can add to
I
that?
was going to say there's a right way to do it, which you're describing, right?
Yeah,
And I don't know that you were doing it like on the clock. I mean, if a new opportunity presented itself to you, and the current, place that you were working couldn't offer you that growth, that part of your, of your life journey, then they should be happy for you that you get to. We never like
totally.
if somebody is like, "Hey, I've got this opportunity." I'm like, "Wow, you need to take that opportunity."
Yeah. But a
Yeah.
few years, I struggled a lot with that, the exact thing you're saying. And a few years ago, I talked with someone that he changed my perspective on there is the so there. I don't know if you're familiar with the EOS model, right?
We use it. Yeah.
Oh, great, great.
Yeah.
So you know
Gino
the
Wickman, for
oh,
sure.
yeah. So that was very helpful because I'm visionary, high level, generally speaking. Now you have to go into the details sometimes, but like I'm generally high level visionary. But I realized years ago that I need integrators, an operational person to help execute and get the things done. And when I find an integrator, it's like a match made in heaven. We can get a whole lot done. So that's something through my career I had to optimize for that. Like Icon Labs, I had a head of operations. With the cleaning company, I had two operational folks who are like my integrator type folks to execute and get things done. And now for every future endeavor, I look into that something I look at as part of the model, someone that can continue to iterate and grow, but also always keeping an eye on who is going to be my potential replacement, like continuity as I think about legacy, because I'm training folks and getting them up to speed. So for me, it's a little different. And that individual I talked about like helped me understand that there is strength in 0 to 1 for certain things and getting it going, but also thinking about continuity and operationalizing it and pulling that in and working with those folks. Now, there's some unicorns that are both the visionary and also super integrated types. And I'm like, whoa, much respect. That's not me. But
Yeah, it's so funny because I've been wearing both roles, right? Visionary and integrator. And although I can do both, integrator role is not that drains me. Like it's not what I strive, and I'm really good at. Can I do it? Yes. And so maybe you're bringing up an interesting point for our viewers that, like, you could be in a job that you're not necessarily, I think you called it the aptitude.
yeah,
Maybe it's just not what your thing is. Then you shouldn't be doing that, right?
yeah,
But you should know that pretty quickly,
yes,
in my opinion. But
100%.
but if we kind of come full circle, just to keep the topic, like, is starting your own business dead? Well, it wasn't for me 35 years ago. And just purchased this business. Was it how long ago did you do that?
About a year and 4 months ish ago.
Yeah.
Um,
So, from your younger perspective, how do you feel about it now?
it's definitely not dead. There's a lot of opportunity still. I mean, you're going to hear terms like the silver tsunami, with boomers retiring. There's new businesses starting. There's opportunity for new businesses, new industries. AI is opening up other opportunities that we never even thought about. But with boomers retiring in droves, I think it's a couple of 2,000 or so a day or some
A
crazy number,
day.
right?
Yeah.
So that's a lot of opportunity because a lot of those businesses will either close down or be shuttered or passed on to someone. It has to go somewhere. For some boomers, right, their kids are said they're like, I don't want your car wash business. I don't want your cleaning company. I'm fine. So there is a
Right.
lot of opportunity there, a lot of risk because many people jump in, right? It's not the aptitude to think, heck, we can dive into my story of I did think it was going to be a lot easier, right? With the
I'm glad
experience
you're
I had.
bringing that up. I want to hear more. Yeah.
Yeah, and boots on ground, you realize, holy moly, there is a lot to this, right? It's not just some pixie dust marketing, make some strategic connections, run ads, and boom. You have to learn the industry, you have to learn the sales cycles. This is not SaaS that I'm selling. Now I have real employees, 1099s or W2s, right, who are cleaning, who have life happening to them and all kinds of variables and clients who need to cancel or pause because of the macroeconomic trends that now you have to address. So there's just a lot of that. But that said, it's definitely not dead. It's a contact sport. buying a business or starting a business. And I think it's going to be that way for a long, long time, especially, in the
Yes.
North American market.
So yeah, I I wholeheartedly agree. So a lot of young people might have a good idea, and they don't really realize what it's going to take to really get momentum. And there's different stages of momentum, right? There's like getting to that $1 million mark, which is extremely different, difficult.
I
Breaking the
call it the
five
value of
million dollar
debt.
mark. Yes,
Getting there.
exactly. Getting exactly. And so I would always recommend to a younger person starting business is just like, okay, are you going to be able to, and I use sort of a negative term, sacrifice, but are you going to be able to, not, worry that your friends are going on this trip and you're not, or that you're going to miss some birthdays or something
Hmm.
like that, because this is going to become your primary focus for a good chunk of your life. And it's almost like, maybe your first child, second child, it's going to be one of your children, and you're going to take care of it like you would, right?
Yeah. I have three kids, two biological and then a business stuff. But no, you're
Yeah.
right on with that. It takes a lot of sacrifice, and one has to count the cost. And that's a challenge. That's a pushback I'd give. And I think it's great you tell young entrepreneurs that. I'm much younger, but I'm beginning to share that with folks. So people are like, "Oh my gosh, you bought a cleaning business. I want to get in the game." And I owe it to them and to myself, to share the realities. Right, there've been a lot of sleepless nights, early mornings, hustle, 15 or so hour work days just to get things going. Cleaner calling out sick or not showing up, and you don't know what the heck is going
And
on,
you got to
and
go.
you
Yeah.
gotta go. Right, I've had to do that, and then only for the client that you did the sacrifice for to drop you, because things happen too. They have their own life going on and other variables you can't control, and you're like, is this all worth it? So there's a lot of that, right? And then we have gurus now hyping, go buy a business, which on the surface, right, I think there's good opportunity there, but you got to count the cost. A lot of people jumping and they get disillusioned, and they're 300K plus in debt, and the business is not cash flowing. These are all realities to think about and look into, right? And the bank is going to stress test, with what, 15%, 20% drop in revenue. They're looking from their perspective. And I would say, hey, do your own stress test. Go all the way to 40% drop in revenue, right? If you were to lose 40% of revenue, is this still something you can sustain and you can do? So that's 2x what a bank would typically do. So there's just that rigor, playing worst case scenarios and simulations, and then saying like, do I still want to do this? Because that really grounds you some more. And there might be stuff that still happens you didn't look at, but that will ground you some more in reality, because reality always kicks you in the teeth. That's what I
Absolutely.
found out.
Absolutely. And in order to grow a business, so we're both agreeing, starting a new business is not dead. And then in order to grow a business, you need people. And then you'll typically find out that, people won't do things the same way as you. And you have to be okay, with that, because, otherwise
Yep.
you won't be able to scale. So on that sort of a topic, what do you think's changed when it comes to, tools or culture? What new factors are shaping entrepreneurship today? You mentioned AI earlier,
Yep.
but
AI definitely is huge. I think it's a watershed moment. There's a lot more opportunities to deploy AI at scale to automate processes. And RPA has been around for a while, robotic process automation and deploying that. But I think with AI and the shift to agentic AI, where you have semi autonomous, and I say semi because you see, have to program the thing and point in a direction, and they have guardrails around it. But like
mhm,
with that, it's changing, I think, how to hire. I mean, right now there are a lot of businesses, right? I even played around with some of these tools, the voice AI tools, where someone could call a phone number and no human interacts, and he has a conversation with you. Bordy, I think Bordy is one of those companies, Bordy.ai. Like, yeah, it sounds human. It's going to pause, it's going to ask you questions and stuff. And that's unreal. right? Still not ready for prime time for all industries yet, but it's coming, right? Where I think there's a
Mhm.
future here, not too far off, where my AI will call your AI and close a deal without
It'll
me
be
interacting at
interesting.
all,
Yeah, it'll
right?
be yeah.
Yeah, so there is a lot of that, and then there's changes, right, in workforce and Gen Z coming into the marketplace, and they're a different breed for how to interact and learning to speak their language. Gen Z, I've heard, like, tends to be more so cost based. They want their work to mean something and all of that. So there's just a lot of these variables at play right now. But focusing on the technology side, I think with cutting edge tech and compute being cheaper, we will be seeing a lot more disruption in the industry.
And anytime there is this level of disruption, which AI is this, like, so when the internet happened, the amount of disruption was massive, right? And so, then came the birth of the Amazons and Googles and all that, right? So anytime there's this disruption like AI is creating, right? Young people should be like, I'm coming in. I'm coming
Yeah.
in now. I'm coming in hard. I'm coming in fast. And they understand it like you do. They understand this technology and they can leverage it, right?
So that's something I want to lean into, actually. So there's disruption, there's technology, there's AI, there's other cutting edge, like blockchain had this thing. It's not going to go away. I think we'll be seeing more distributed ledgers, and all of that stuff. But to lean in there, so there's AI. There's a lot of fears around. Oh my gosh, is my job going to be obsolete? And some jobs will be obsolete. That's unfortunate, but it's also going to create more opportunities. But one of
Right.
the things I'm seeing is, yes, adopt the cutting edge stuff, get up to speed on it. But also there are things that humans still do really well. Optimize for that. Learning how to speak, right? And pass your points across and have a conversation and convince a board, being comfortable in a boardroom, the executives or whatnot, being comfortable putting on events. I think those are still things that are uniquely human, right? That folks optimize for that. Learn to speak, learn to write, learn to convince. Sales, like, those are very important, like the human to human aspects. Now I meet folks, younger folks, or even older sometimes, and they're really good at the technology side. And for some people, that's, I think, like, great. But if I could give advice, it's like, hey, learn the tech, get up to speed on it, don't be left behind. But also, what does it mean to be truly human? And how can we get better at doing the human interactions, like a podcast we have going on right now, two humans, riffing, about subjects, doing events, shaking hands, right? Customer experience, making people feel welcome. Because one of the challenges in the age of AI and cutting edge technology is that the humans can get lost. We can optimize too much for the machines, for tech. But if you think about it, technology does not exist in a vacuum. Technology exists to help humans, to help us thrive, to close deals faster, to do X better and faster. So let's not forget the reasons why we build great technology in the first place. We're not building that for the sake of building it. There's so many other things we could be doing. So that's something that I'm like, hey, optimize for tech and grow that. But remember, this is all for humans. So keep getting good at the human stuff as well.
Absolutely. You're making me think of an old expression I have, which is what's old becomes new again. And so you're talking about such basic human skill sets, right? That um, some decent portion of the younger population has not adopted yet.
Yeah.
And to them, I've talked to them. They're like, that is inefficient. You guys are inefficient,
Yeah.
and so we're not going to do that. And I think they'll find out what you said is you've got to lean into that human
Hmm.
component. People do business with people.
Yes.
All these
100%.
robots and AIs, they work for us, So
Yeah.
I think
You'd
that's
be
great.
shocked. The deals I have closed from just picking up the darn phone and calling someone and talking because their form entry came through my website. They're like, oh, and I'm like, who else have you spoken to? I, I'm responding to your email, outreach. And they're like, well, no one else. No one else has reached out. I'm like, what? It's, you know, That's like a basic thing. Text back, call back, meet in person, go for coffee, shake hands, talk about the deal. Like those seem very basic, but again, in our world, I think like you said, that's the old stuff. Consider the old stuff, but like again, with the rise in technology and AI and huge adoption, I think humans are craving that person to person interaction and the old school way of
I
doing.
think people just think back. Think when you had a wonderful experience in your life. You went to a restaurant and you got incredible service, or you went to your the clothing store and the person was just like incredible and super helpful, and you found a great opportunity or whatever it was. You were like, that was phenomenal,
Yeah,
right? And we all know what it feels like when that's not there. So
totally.
warmth, human. I think that you're 100% correct. I think I might have cut you off there, though. Sorry.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Nice way to
Okay.
tie it. Yeah.
All right. So, like, do you think this business, the path is more of a flipping of a business? You see everyone wants that quick buck, or is there still like this building for the long haul, or creating like a stepping stone to your next venture, kind of like what you're talking about? Like, how do you see it?
I think it's all of the above, and it's important to know which one it is. And sometimes you have no way of knowing until you get in the game and you realize. So in my case, right, I bought Shipman Cleaning years ago, well, a year and 4 months ago or so. And through the process of learning the industry, talking with multiple other cleaners, and seeing what the macro trends are and micro in our market in Phoenix, one thing I realized is there's opportunity for software in the industry. So that's something we started pursuing, working on that right now. We have some customers already, waiting for that to land so they can use it. And that's like an inflection point, right? A pivot moment where I can deploy that. And it may not even make sense to keep running the service side of the business. We'll see how that evolves. Matter of fact, I've spoken to about 7 potential buyers in the past few weeks who are looking into
For your
buying,
business?
yeah, for the cleaning company. So all of that to say, sometimes you go in, you want to build this big thing, and then you realize along the way there are pivot moments. Do you take them the road forks into, right? You want to stay the course doing the same thing, or do you want to evolve a bit? And in my case, right, I'm choosing to evolve. Now it doesn't mean I'll sell it, right? Talking to potential buyers, it needs to make sense. But for me, getting in the game and finding another, pathway through that has been how I have grown my career. Keeping my eye on the ball for the problems being solved, and also learning what problems are here and how might I solve it, and how might I build leverage into it. Because you could solve $5 an hour problems, or you could solve $200 an hour problems. And with 2 little kids, in my case, and a wife that I want to hang out with and spend time with, I'm beginning to see, okay, I could keep doing this thing and doing the entrepreneurial thing, but it's a lot of hours and little return on my time investment. Or I could optimize for still solve problems which need to be solved, but it's better return on my time. Um, and I'd much rather do that. So I don't know if that answers the question, but to summarize, I would say it really depends, and sometimes you're not certain which one until you get in the game, and you realize by just looking at what problems are there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there are some people that know that that's what they want to do. I think they want the quick thing. So they build a business. They leverage debt instruments. They do what they hire the right people. They
Yeah,
put it together fast. So on paper, it looks exactly how it needs to look so that it gets acquired, right? And then they go on to their next one, and then their next one, and their next one, and that's just a different talent. There's nothing wrong with that. That's
yeah,
that's a talent, right? That means maybe they don't have the talent to build for the long haul, build for long-term value, and go through the ups and downs of an economic, roller coaster or political roller coaster or a pandemic roller coaster, whatever it is. All of
Yeah.
those are different challenges for the long haul, right?
Yeah.
So I
Like
think
I
to
have
just
much respect for you. Like you've built something, you've built a legacy that has survived for the long haul and will survive, for a long, long time. And that's really awesome. Years ago, I was like, man, I want to have something that lasts. And one of the ways that I suffered that was by building a holding company in my case.
mm,
So I'm like, I want to do a lot of things. So I'm going to flip some, I'm going to stay some longer and exit later or just keep for the longer. But I wanted something that would, 30 years plus, right? It's still around. So for me, that was all right. I'll do a holding company. And then regardless of what I acquire or grow or do or consult, that's the one thread, right? That company has been around for almost 7 years now. To start Integrator, I'm like, okay, that so I have that thread. So psychologically for me, that has been helpful. And I've played around with so many different things. So you know, that has been ongoing. But I have respect like for those who are able to build business and have like a long-term vision. I think increasingly it's hard to have because you got to have a long-term vision, but then there'll be a lot of pivots along the way, right? I can imagine for your business and inflection points you have had over the years.
yeah, people, they'll see that my children, when I was growing up, I would work, probably a lot more hours than the average person, and people come out, you've gotta slow down. I said, well, work's not work to me. When I'm working, I'm having fun. I'm creating.
Awesome.
It makes sense. So
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say, oh, every day is this, angelic, beautiful. No, I'm just saying like, on nights and weekends when I'm like just there and I'm inspired to see where I can go. Right. And I have this analogy that my business is like a canvas, and it's just never a finished painting. Right. So I started off, it's just one canvas, and then, oh, I'm going to add a blank canvas over here, and I'm going to paint some more over here. And then, like you said, life can throw stuff at you, and then you respond and you go, I never saw that. I never knew that was
Yeah.
an opportunity. So I'm going to put a piece of canvas over here and start painting over here. And so that's what worked for me, and I enjoyed that piece of it quite a bit.
That's a great analogy. I'm gonna steal that one. It's like a
Please,
canvas.
yeah.
Never really done painting. Yeah. That's
So if
cool.
we want to just kind of put this all together, I think, starting your own business, is it dead, or is it just different now, or is it the same, just new tools and new opportunities?
Yes, definitely not dead. Still lots of opportunities, I think, to get in the game, get in the fray, get in the arena and engage. Lots more tools. I'm sure you can attest to this. I feel like there's so many more opportunities. Like I feel like folks like you did it the hard way. It almost feels like. And now
We
there's so many.
did.
You're like,
Mhm.
what? You kids have this now? Are you kidding me?
It's funny, but yeah, for me, I'm glad I had that. I'm glad I had that because I understand it now, right? I
Yeah.
understand what's really behind the different tools and why they're there, and why they actually got created, and what they're solving. But yeah, no, we're the old folks, and as you said, building something for the long haul is what I chose to do. I've got two sons; they're in the business, so they're gonna carry it forward, and I'm trying to apprentice them so that they can do the same, for them. So, any closing advice or aspirations you'd like to share with the audience?
No, quite frankly, I would say, one, thank you so much for bringing me on. And yeah, they're starting businesses, growing them, scaling them. Definitely not dead. There, the new tools around, but I would say there's also the old school stuff that are still tried and true, tested principles to apply,
Mm,
and not forgetting the humans, because ultimately, right, business, tools, technology is built for human thriving to help humans be more efficient or to do whatever better, and not forgetting that I think is a key superpower that differentiates the best businesses from just mediocre businesses. Right? Do not optimize so
100%
much
right.
that you forget the humans. So keeping customer experience at the center of whatever venture, I think, goes a long way, and is a superpower.
Yeah, be human. And I think my closing might just be mentors, people like you that have done it before. Have a little bit of both. Have a young person like you that knows all the AI and the tools and what the current opportunities are, and maybe somebody like me, and it's not one mentor. Have both, and you'll
Yes.
see you and I have mutual respect for each other, right? And so, could you imagine a new entrepreneur having you and me on their board?
Let's
Like, they
get it.
be unstoppable, right? So,
Yeah.
but mentors, I'm a firm believer in them.
Same.
I've had them my entire life, and I wouldn't be here without them. So, all right, Anebi, thank you so much for taking some time. I know you're extremely busy. It took us quite a few months to get you for a bit here. So, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us, and sharing your advice to our audience.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
And that's a wrap on this bonus episode of One Step Beyond Cyber. And with it, the close of season 3. Now, a huge thank you to Anebi Agbo for sharing his story and perspective, and to all of you for listening throughout the entire season. Thank you so much. Now, if you missed any of our past episodes, now's the perfect time to catch up. There's a lot of valuable insight waiting for you. And to stay connected between seasons, make sure you follow us on social media for updates and resources and all things business, tech, and cyber. Thank you for being part of the One Step Beyond Cyber community, and we'll see you in season 4.